How's your experiment with driving going? Hope better than this lady. We got to talk about the last two major organelles in the in cells, and these are mitochondria and chloroplasts. You can associate these guys with energy. I've put the word, or the acronym ATP down here. It's at the bottom of the page. You see chloroplasts and you see a mitochondrion. Just think of them as dealing with energy, and they change energy from one form to another. You got to know, for right now, you got to know kind of the basics of this, and we're going to go over those, I promise. You'll see here in number 17 says talk about those energy conversions, which I just mentioned, and then 18 and 20 talk about the structure and the function of each of the mitochondria and the chloroplasts. And then there's a big theory out there, number 21, that suggests that mitochondria and chloroplasts actually used to be prokaryotes, free-living bacteria-type organelles that got into a eukaryotic cell somewhere down the line a long time ago, and it gave that cell a selective advantage in its environment. Because of that, the cell is now able to do more in its environment, and it survived. And by evolution, that cell was the one that proliferated and survived well, and the rest of the cells in that environment were substandard, and they all died. And so now, after tons of evolution and billions of years, here we are, and we see mitochondria in all of our cells, as well as chloroplasts in all plant cells, all green plant cells, and some algae and some bacteria, just wherever those individuals need to make stored energy from the energy that is inherited from the sun. It's really capturing sunlight's energy. Let's talk about mitochondria first. Associate the word mitochondria with cellular respiration, and this is where ATP, or this energy storage molecule, is made from the breakdown of food, and specifically glucose, but it can be done by proteins and carbohydrates as well. Chloroplasts, what they do is they harness the sun's energy, and then they store that energy in the bonds of glucose, and then which we call starch or carbohydrate, and then we ingest that and we break those bonds during cellular respiration to harness that energy, and that's how ATP is made in higher organisms. This is on page 123. I've been showing you this kind of summative pink table this entire chapter. Make sure that you go here. Spend 20 minutes on this page. Go back to it multiple times. I would recommend spend 4 times 5 minutes on this page. Whatever you need to do, these are the key points that you need to know for these organelles. Here are some key components or points regarding mitochondria and chloroplasts. You can see that they're not part of this endomembrane system. They have a double membrane, which is again attributes to this theory that they actually went into a eukaryotic cell that had a single membrane on its outside, and then when they went in, they not only had a membrane, meaning these old prokaryotes, the precursors to what we call mitochondria and chloroplasts. Let me do it this way. They went in and they were enveloped by a second membrane that was already there. It was like a plasma membrane of a cell. So they had a membrane, they were enveloped, and now they exist within eukaryotic cells with 2 membranes. It's an interesting hypothesis, and it's one that a lot of scientists believe in. They actually make their own proteins by free ribosomes, and they actually both contain DNA. These are other characteristics of them which suggest they were once free living. That's a really important component of biology and of evolution. It's called the endosymbiotic hypothesis. Here we go, mitochondria, a little bit more about its structure. You'll see here that it has a double membrane. It has an outer membrane right here, an inner membrane, and this inner membrane is really folded, and that's to create more surface area for cellular respiration to take place. These folds are called the cristae of the membrane. You'll see them right here. And then the matrix is the inner part of the mitochondria. That's where a lot of reactions take place to really break down that glucose. There's some cycles that take place in there. We'll talk about them in a later chapter. Just know these 4 these four major, I guess there's 6 things here, but you got to know these major structural components of the mitochondria. Here are some other points. Make sure you get those down, and don't be like this person. Let's talk about chloroplasts. Chloroplasts have also a double membrane, an inner and outer membrane. They've got this solution called a stroma, which contains a lot of enzymes, which obviously there are some reactions that are going to take place there. Specifically, it's called the dark reaction or the Calvin cycle of photosynthesis. We'll get into it later, but you need to know it for now. You'll see these stacks that are like pennies. They're called thylakoids, and a stack of them is called a grana, or grana for plural, when you have many stacks of granum. This is where another part of photosynthesis takes place, called the light reaction on the membranes of those thylakoids. Again, they're real twisty to increase surface area for more reactions, or specifically the light reaction, to take place in photosynthesis. Here's some literature that will help round out what I just said. Don't you love it when it's cut off like that? It's interesting. I guess that's it. Make sure that you get these 4 objectives down, and we'll talk about them tomorrow in class. Thank you. Oh, if you can't see your way through this chapter, make sure that you call this guy who can't really spell.